Against all odds, we are starting our beautiful show right now. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today and joining us today. We are super excited to be here, and we are here today with SUJATA. No retakes, no manuals, real life lessons. For those of you that have not seen the book, this is the book. You'll see it on. And SUJATA has accumulated a wealth of experiences during her life, leading to insights and knowledge that cannot be coached or taught in a class. She's been a mother, a wife, a journalist, a consultant, an activist, a leader, and a businesswoman domestically and internationally. In sharing her story, SUJATA strives to provide readers of all backgrounds in any part of the world with real-life examples on how to deal with the unpredictable nature of everyday life. Welcome, SUJATA. How are you today?
My usual answer is I'm alive.
Oh, you might. I'm sorry. I got to turn you up a little. Can you say that again?
I said my usual answer is I'm alive.
Excellent. Well, there you go, everybody. She's alive and here in person. So
you're the only one who has reacted like this in my so many years, and I'm delighted to have this reaction. Others can't figure out why do I say that.
Well, it is your very complex form of humor.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yes, and I want to welcome everybody. We are here. We are celebrating on many different platforms. Robert Trainer, Robert says hello, good afternoon to Les and SUJATA. He has given us a heart and he is watching. Woohoo, from Facebook. And I see Kingdom just came up on the stage. Welcome, Kingdom. Petalin, it's so great to see you. Thanks for coming up and joining us up on stage. And I sent out an invite to Byron, Selena, and Trisha, and hopefully they will come up and join us when they are available. Hi, Petalin.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing great.
Well, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I actually just did my second room this last Saturday, reading the Bible.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, and you could say that was against all odds, correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I'm having fun with the pun on words of the name of SUJATA's book.
Yeah, I love it. I actually feel like from the Book of Acts, how they had the home churches. I actually feel like I'm starting one here on Clubhouse.
That's it, and that's that is part of the game of creating a club and a room on Clubhouse, is to do just that.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thanks. It's all the Lord's idea.
It is, but the Lord also has a couch created for people that can go and sit on and do nothing. So it's always good when we take that choice. Right. So thank you for doing that. All right, Sujata. So where did we leave off yesterday, Sujata? You want to bring us up to speed?
We were talking about jealousy and in the workplace, uh, at home, keeping up with the Jones. That means we were even talking of our neighbors. So we covered a whole lot of topic, a whole lot of perspective on this word or this topic, and people wanted to have a second ongoing session on it because 1 hour was not enough, and so here we are. Although the people who were there yesterday are not here today.
Byron's here.
Byron's here, but he's not coming up on stage. Neither
Not
is
yet.
Selena coming up on stage.
I wonder if they've sent us a back channel as to what they're up to. Nope. Hey, there's Robert. Robert will come up on stage. He could join. He could join. We should figure out a way to get. I'm going to send him an invite. Let's get him up on. Shall we get him up in the StreamYard? Okay.
Can.
All right. Well, let's see.
He's come up on stage in Clubhouse too.
Yep. I saw that. Hey, Robert, how are you, sir?
I'm no good today, Les. Today is a day of absolute relaxation and reflection. How about that, bud? Relaxation and reflection.
Well, that is it's a perfect day to join this room, given what our conversation is about.
That's why I was over on saw you on Facebook, or saw you, excuse me, on the Facebook Live, and a great topic because I like that. We did a session today where we talked about when is enough. Like we're taught to go and go and go and go, but at what point do we stop and say, okay, we got to relax and take time for us? And is it okay? Do you give yourself permission to do that? And that's really, really, really awesome. So we figured that out a little bit, and now I'm in here with you, buddy. Good to see you. Good to see you, Sujata. I love your book cover.
Hey, Robert, because I'm not in the right place, can you give me your email? I'm going to send you a link to bring you up on. Are you decent? You want to come and join us on the StreamYard?
Oh yeah, I'm actually at the Las Vegas Temple, sitting outside. Totally, no problem.
What's your email?
Send it to Robert, ROBERT.
Yep.
At mycollector.net. And I'll grab it real quick.
My COL.
Yeah, my.
Yep.
COLLECTR.net. Yeah, just try that.
Well, you just said the last part way too fast for this old man. So okay. MYCOL.
Okay, so it's my, like mine or yours. My.
Yep.
My collector.
Collector. There we go.
ECTOR.
Yep. .com. .com, Robert.
.net.
.net. Okay.
Net.
Perfect.
Easy.
Yep. And StreamYard link.
All right, let me go through and go to the email and grab it, and I'll be right back.
All right. Hold on. Paste. Enter. Hi, Selena.
Hi.
Do you want to come join us too?
Yeah, where are you guys going?
We're on StreamYard. Peddling, you could come too.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Nope. And here comes Byron. Yes, everybody's up on stage.
Finally.
Hey, Byron.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Are you video friendly?
No, I'm actually like working as well.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Order a bunch of little things, but
no worries.
Yeah, I couldn't resist jumping up.
Well, that's good because we're gonna jump right back into that jealousy conversation.
The P's and Q's, eh?
You got it. That was so much fun finding that. I have not said mind your P's and Q's for so long. It was like old home week. Let's see here. And there we go. There's Robert. Here we go. Here we go.
Facebook.
There you go.
There we are. Okay, I'm clearing off all the other platforms. We should be good with 5G.
Video?
He is.
What? Oh, you go, Robin.
Did you hear that, Robert? Uh-oh. We might have just expanded his net. Oh, there we go. Here we go. It's circling. It's doing the white circle.
Okay,
Hey,
there we are.
He's back with voice.
Hey, there you guys are. Hey guys.
Let's get the chipmunks
How's it
running
going?
faster. Yay, there he comes.
Yep, today's the day of relaxation, guys. I told you. I learned that I had to take this time for myself, right? Because otherwise it goes. But you know what? What's really cool is I'm studying the art of branding, and I've been and I sent you some stuff last, but I've been invited to some really crazy platforms, and we're having long conversations, and people actually pay you to be there. So it's really an interesting deal. We're talking about but the biggest thing is right now people are having a lot of stress after COVID, guys. You know that.
Yes.
People are having tough times just trying to make it and just trying to figure out where they're gonna land, and so okay, so you guys, you're in. Everybody can hear you. That's great. By the way, I really think this platform's cool, because I was told there's a platform that I entered into that they said we want to have you go video, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. So hi, SUJATA. How are you, my friend?
I'm alive.
You're alive.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. You are.
She didn't say the kicking word, Selena.
Come on, Sujata. Come on. Put a buck in it.
So Selena called me today, and so for those of you listening, we're gonna take we're gonna go on to a personal break here for a second and put Sujata on the hot seat, but she just mic'd up again. We got to keep her off that mic. And there we go.
Okay.
The so Sujata, Selena and I had a call about you today.
Oh my goodness, I'm honored.
No pressure. There we go. Byron jumped in and said, "No pressure."
No, there's never any pressure. I'm very curious to know what were you discussing.
It's all about your health journey.
All good. It's all good. I just told him that we're getting back on the bicycle and we're gonna ride all the way.
But she asked me a very interesting question that I had a lot of fun answering. She said, "So are you coaching Sujata?" And I said, "Well, that's a long conversation."
That's a good question, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. And I said,
he's my.
It depends.
He
It depends.
He
depends.
coaches us, coaches everybody.
Yes. Well, that there is that.
There
The question though is if somebody takes the coaching. And that's look at this eyebrow raised. Oh, wait until you see this video, Selena. You are gonna love it. Her eyebrow raised, her left eyebrow went up, and her mouth went off, up and down track. Woo!
What was your answer to Selena?
and my answer was I would say that there's stuff that I'm offering coaching on. The question is whether the coaching is accepted or not. And she said, well, we're going to have to fire it up. And I said, well, I think that because I didn't know she had spoken to you at this point. And I said, I think that she's had some conversations that have given her some incentive, because she's going to walk the dogs. She's going to walk with me when I walk the dogs in the morning, because that's a good time. And Selena said, good. Uh-oh, Robert got...
Sujata, you know Coach Les is a troublemaker, right?
Okay. So even while I mind my P's and Q's, this is my answer. Okay.
You better go to your LMNO and P.
Coach Les for me is somebody who's like, not like, I take back the word. He has often said himself that he partners with me, and I would like to echo that we are partners in what we do. I respect and treat him as an equal. He's one person who's always um, talking about coaches, and he has several coaches himself. So what I want to say is a very simple thing. I always learn from people, and people like you, Selena, like Coach Les, who are there in my life as a blessing, walk the talk. So if you care, you will do something, and that is what Coach Les does. He's very focused, very determined, and if he wants to do something for you, he will do it, and you just can't help not respond to that kind of gesture. And when he came to know my health, so he decided not to only walk in the night but walk in the morning. And so I decided, okay, I should also do that. And you and I, Selena, know that we have been, a little backward in following up what we want to
Yes,
do.
of course.
And
Absolutely.
no, that's okay. I'm not going to give ourselves any grief over it. That too is okay. As I always say, that Sulena is my health partner, is because I know that your intention is very pure and genuine, and we are both committed to it. It's just that sometimes things don't happen the way we want to, and there could be real life situations, so we don't don't get to do what we want. And yes, so I would say that Coach Les has coaching as a part of his intrinsic DNA, and I'm there always to learn from my conversation with each and everybody. I believe that I learn from everybody, and that to that extent, yes, I'm always learning when I have a conversation with him. Now, whether you put it as being coached or coaching is a perspective that you may have. So I hope that answers the question, and I really, really have tried to mind my P's and Q's. I hope I succeeded.
That's a good answer to that question, because
Thank you, Robert.
I think there's so many. No, I know that's my personal opinion, because and I think that the question is a really valid question, because there's so many platforms that the coach is on, that there's some places where there's lots and lots of people, but you don't know, who's being personally coached, who's being mentored, and it's a valid question. I think you're right. I think that he is absolutely gifted to be able to give advice, and he's been trained very, very well to handle situations, and people need that right now, and no matter what, whether you're talking about your book, or you're talking about having a podcast, or whatever it is, I mean, the guy walks the walk and talks the talk. That's for real. That's for real. And this is what I do day in and day out. So I don't endorse anybody, anytime, anywhere, for anything, just because I can't. But in this case, it's an exception, because I mean, he's proves himself over and over and over.
And Coach Les, I have to say, when I call him a partner, he calls me a partner, is that he does also, I think, listen to me, and he does take some of my suggestions, if I may say so. I won't even use the word advice, uh, but he does listen to me, and he does share things which on which I give my perspectives.
And that's important, because sometimes we can get ourselves in a hole, can't we? Where we're pigeonholed into a certain way we believe things. In other words, we have what are called fixed beliefs. And there's a lot of value in getting the feedback of a second party, because sometimes
Yes.
our fixed beliefs become what we believe is reality, and it's really not reality. You know what I mean? You need someone to say, hey, this is something, maybe we can take a look at it a little different. And that was a topic of a 2-hour podcast today, because there's a lot of people who literally, and this was the question, if you have not walked outside in 10 days and seen grass and seen trees and been in with nature
Wow.
and been wherever you're at,
What a
maybe,
lovely
it's
background.
beautiful. Look, yeah. I mean, this is Las Vegas, so I'm not at a casino, but it gives you an idea to refresh yourself. You have to grounding. You ground yourself, don't you? Stand by. Okay, we're on 5G again. Okay, so you have to reground yourself and put yourself at a certain baseline. Otherwise, you can literally live in a fantasy and not know the difference. And I'm a prime example of that, because I did that during the beginning of COVID until I worked my way through it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing that I see inside of that, right? Where our theme today is talking about jealousy. And one of the things that, one of the things that I'm, as I'm listening, I'm like, okay, how are we going to mold this into the conversation for the day? How are we going to support the conversation from yesterday and continue it, so that if somebody's listening to yesterday and then they listen to today, they'll see the streamline connection. Minding our P's and Q's was one of the fun things we created yesterday, and looking at what that, to me, one of the overriding principles of yesterday was that jealousy comes from this place of why you and not me, as opposed to how do we create both of us, or it's time to lift you up and put you up in the air, and then tomorrow it will be a time to lift me up and put me up in the air, and then the next time it'll be the time to lift Robert or Byron or Selena or Padeline or David or Prim. So that's, for me, that's the nature of looking at how a community, when it's tied together, just like the sequoia trees in California, and up in north of San Francisco, the reason they could grow so tall is not because they go deep, but because they're so interconnected with each other across thousands of, or hundreds of square miles of root system, that they can support the trees growing so up into the area, growing so large, and all the root systems being able to contain and pull all the nourishment to be able to keep the trees. So for me, as people in this conversation, we can level each other up, support each other, leveling up and rising to the occasion without that jealousy. And by the way, I always can sense that jealousy coming into effect. I mean, I look and go, wow, here's Robert sitting outside by beautiful grass and trees in Las Vegas, and I've got rain outside that I've got to prepare myself with my winter gear again, because it snowed this morning and I got to walk the dogs one more time today, and I'm working. And you look at that and go, wait a minute.
I guess you could argue the fact that I'm working less. I mean, let's just keep, you could argue the fact that, but when it comes down to it, we are brands. That's really what it is. And I'm learning that, and this is a statement that I'm going to make that I think is absolutely critical when it comes to talking about jealousy. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yep, beautiful. Yep.
I was going. All right.
Yes.
Any time here's the statement for everybody to write down, no matter what platform you're on. Guys, if you're going to be successful, and if you're ever going to be that people know, and they're going to watch you and listen to you and dissect you, you are going to have people that no matter what you do, you can't please them. No matter what, you can't please them. You can't please them. There's a lot of jealousy, and some people equate the fact that I can give you 20 reasons why they haven't been able to achieve what their success is, but you know what? They're going to do that, and so you have to have kind of thick skin to do what we do all over the world and discuss these things. Because I get emails, in the middle of the night when I'm not even live. People watch these things on replay. And by the way, you guys can reach me at robert@wcilive.com. And we've been able to, with Coach Les, when I first started, I was just trying out podcasting. I mean, we were both on a platform that really wasn't that big, but now we see crazy numbers, and we're getting vetted, and people are to us buying courses, and I mean, it's amazing. Believe it or not, lots of because they want to get they have issues with business, and they have coaching issues, and we're the guys. This is what we do. Or if you're a personal coach and the person's going through a divorce or going through financial strife, the number one thing I tell people is, guys, tell me about where you're at and let's move forward. And that's really what we do. And SUJATA knows that. And you have to be really, really open in a one-on-one conversation like this. This is very private, very intimate, and I like this. But sometimes we have 1,800 people in a clubhouse room, and I have to hire moderators to keep everybody in line, because people want to just go in and cause drama. And I'm not, that's not the way I am. We're there to create results and create success, and that's what it's about. And as Les said, he's right now where it's snowing, and he might want to come out. But the answer is it possible? Here's the question: if he says that he wants to do that, the question is it possible for him to do that? Okay, that's his supreme. Let's just assume that's his supreme desire. His sole goal is to be outside with nature, and he wants to be in Las Vegas, and he's on the other side of the country. Is that in his repertoire or ability to do that? Well, the first thing you have to look at is, well, he's got clients, he's got work he's got to do. Well, that goes out the window, because everything we do is digital. The next thing is, well, a ticket's probably $400. Well, that goes out the window, because we have clients and people that support us. So right there, he's just solved his problem. And to those people, some people don't have the ability, right, to determine what real versus fake is. And it's a matter of saying, what do you want? 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 Well, you tell me what you want, and you're probably going to make it happen. That's reality, guys. Okay. And there'll always be people on the side, always people on the side who are jealous, who are negative, who really, I say bring food to the table of life. They just don't. They're all about creating the drama that is so stressful in my world. I don't know. What do you think, Coach? I know you're listening.
I agree. I mean, the whole thing really is, when you look at, I just wrote down a bunch of notes around that. And, for me, yes, all of those things are possible. And it always is. It's a matter of choices and priorities. And I think that's where the jealousy piece for me is. Do we so Robert, I'm going to throw you on mute for a second because you're by the wind, okay? Just so FYI.
Oh, here, let me get my battery. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So
you can mute me.
Okay. the I wonder why that didn't. There we go. And I think the classic piece for this is when we look and say, are we jealous? What is it we're jealous of? And looking at the background behind all of the things that we're jealous of. I mean, I could sit here and say, I'm jealous of Grant Cardone. He's got, close to $1 billion, and he's got billions of dollars of real estate now amassed. And then when I hear his story of the work that he did to get where he's at, I didn't have that commitment. I chose to go out Thursday and Friday night. I chose to date and spend, one year I kept track, and I'm a little bit ashamed to say this. One year, I was making, six figures, and one year I spent $15,000 on Caribou coffee, 15 grand. Now, admittedly, I bought a lot of treats for other people, for my customers along the way, and I bought gift cards. All of that aside, though, still $15,000 on coffee. Right? I mean, that's crazy. Now, it was something that it was my treat. It was one thing that made me smile. It was one thing I look forward to. And I chose knowingly, lovingly, however you want to look at it, to go and get Caribou coffee. And Grant Cardone didn't do that. He went to a bar on a Friday night with some of his co-workers after he just sold a property, made 20 grand, and people are like, come on, let's go celebrate, you're buying. He's like, I'll come celebrate, but I'm not buying, and I'm going to be drinking water. Now that's a huge commitment. And they say, well, how come you're not buying? He says, because that money's already reinvested back into my next deal. So it didn't even sit in his hands for a moment. He took that money immediately and put it out. Boom. And, that's one of those things where, I could waste my time and be jealous of that. But why would I do that? Because I made a choice and he made a choice. His choices got him to where he is. And I chose not to. I chose to have my dance nights. I chose to date the people that I dated. I chose to be in a fraternity. I chose to go to restaurants and eat with some of my clients, go out with other clients, go dancing 5 nights a week, country western dancing, line dancing, and, even though I didn't drink much. And I think that's the place that we have to look in this conversation. And I can't wait to check in with Selena and Byron here in just a second. I know King Padlin, it looks like you're still on the phone. If you aren't, one of the things you want to do is pop out and come back, because it looks like you're still on the phone. If you want to contribute to this conversation, I'd love to hear. Selena, what are your thoughts about this?
I'm going to have to pop back in a little bit.
Okie doke. Well, jump over to Byron.
Hey, Coach Jeff, real quick, using your example.
Yep.
I think it's an commitment model, like, the social engagement, the energy you get from sharing and passing it on, or the energy that you get to, sharing with yourself and what you specifically want, and stay committed to the internal side of it. That's what I see with Grant, reference versus your reference is the commitment was there. You committed to the community, the energy that you received through others. Whereas, he did as well, but at the same time, in that example, it was more about forward-thinking commitment for himself. So that's what I would say, just given your example there.
Right. And where do you fall in that example?
I'm all over the place, dude. You know this. I can't even commit to taking coaching from you. Yeah, it's still a struggle with me. The life transitions really are kind of been my priority, trying to find that recommitment for myself, because I never really had that. I was always committed through other people and communities. So I think that's really it. It's just trying to realign with that and, seal some things to solidify the commitment as I see myself, daily challenged with that. One day I'm committed, one day I'm not. Just trying to re-hone and refocus those things so that I can prove to myself that, if I set out on this journey, that it'll be successful. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Prim and David, would love it if you wanted to come up and join in this conversation, or send me a back channel and I'll answer the question by the back channel. And Paddlin, are you there? All right, still on the phone. No worries. No worries at all.
I can jump in really quickly.
Okay, beautiful, Selena. Woo! Love it.
Hey, woo, woo. So I would say, based what Byron says and to what you said, Coach Les, definitely. For me, it's that, I guess, constant recommitting and holding myself accountable, right? That's where I would say I find my greatest challenge. So a lot of times I have what I want to accomplish before me, but staying committed sometimes can be a challenge for me, depending on what may be going on within my life at that point in time. Sometimes staying committed. I have to, if I know it's something, I have to find a way to almost challenge myself and hold myself accountable. Like, for instance, bringing up a great topic like with SUJATA and I, as far as the walking. So what I had to invent for myself is say that every morning I am getting up and I'm doing, and this is going to kind of date me, right? So you remember when we had the World Wide Web, so it was www. When it first came out and the big thing was www. And I had to say to myself, so 3 things I struggled with, so I tied them together. Was drinking water, walking, and consistently getting in God's word. And I said, you know what? Okay, I am going to say I am tapping in to the World Wide Web of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So I'm drinking my water, I'm walking, and I'm reading the word. That's it. So I am complete.
Awesome. Thank you, Selena. Sujata.
Jealousy for me, when I talk about jealousy, is about when there is resentment mixed to that feeling, emotion, you may choose and pick your word to define and describe it, is when there is resentment, when there is negativity, and when that is put out in your action and in your words. So when you put people down and you belittle them, or you do politics, which happens at workplaces or even at home or elsewhere, that is what comes to my mind when I talk of jealousy, and which I have seen all the time over the course of years. And that's what I have been referring to. So that's where I am at. Like, for example, the word called multi-branding, right? There is something called multi-branding. And yet, when a person has multiple accomplishments, they are put down and told to be in a box and define themselves into 1 or 2 or 3 things and not be all over the place. What is that?
Say that one more time. What is the question, Sujata?
So we have this word called multi-branding, right?
Yep.
So now when a person has a lot of accomplishments and a lot of things to offer, if the person is told, oh, you can't be all over the place, you need to define yourself and, describe yourself in just 3 things that you have to offer, when the person may have more to offer. What is that?
Well, I think it's called it's clouding the waters of what people can look at, because they look at you and go, well, what is she doing now? If you're referring to yourself, to be all those things, what is it that you want to focus on? Otherwise, it's like a shotgun. You bring a shotgun to shooting a long distance shot to a deer, you're not going to make it to the deer. Now maybe one of the little tiny pebbles, shotgun shot might actually make it to the deer. The question is, what's it going to do when it hits the deer? So that's why they have a rifle. And many people are saying, when you have a rifle approach to something, you are able to define and refine your target, as opposed to BNI, Business Network International, has a very, very good, very strong feeling towards this. When you come in, what is it that you're representing? What is 80% of your clientele? Not the 20% that is all over the board. It's the 80-20. So where do you spend 80% of your time? And somebody addressed this to me the other day, and I said, well, I'm creating a coach university over on the one hand here, where it's people that are looking to level up, people that are looking to be held accountable, people that are looking to have integrity in their business, people that are looking already a coach and want to take themselves to the next level. And then, well, what do you handle individual clients? Yes. And my individual clients tend to be business owners between 1 and 5 million that are, if you look right now, are family owned or owned by a single proprietor. And they are looking to bring cohesiveness to their communication and take it to the next level through integrity, especially if they have family members that are working there. So, what I call the 45-second elevator pitch. And when you have a multitude of, you talk about somebody with a lot of certifications, SUJATA, I've got a wealth of them. I've got some I don't even have written on my clubhouse. I'm a certified aromatherapist. I'm a certified massage therapist. I'm a certified speaker. I'm an NSA certified speaker. I have NLP. I have an NLP certification. I have a Jack Canfield certification. I have a Zig Ziglar certification. I have a Dale Carnegie certification. I have a Tom Hopkins certification. That makes me really old, right, Robert? Because that's from, 1986. So I have all these pieces of paper, and what does it mean? Where do I want to spend my focal time? And I think that's the nature of the business that we're in. So I know that doesn't answer your question the way you want it answered, SUJATA. I think what it looks like to me is for you to create your avatar for a client. What is it that you see as the most beautiful person, that beautiful avatar of a client that you want to work with? And of course, you're going to get that surrounding suburbs of that client when you're out there, because somebody's going to see that and hear that and go, "Oh, I want you as my coach." Does that make sense, SUJATA?
Yeah, it makes sense, because I'm always open to different perspectives, and you got a good perspective. However, I think in my case, it's like a linear and non-linear thinking approach. And I don't like boxes, and I don't think that, it does justice to the person. You said that you have a lot of certifications. I may not have any of the certifications, but I have life experiences, and those are invaluable, lessons in life for which you don't need a certification. How I dealt with it, what choices I made, I think is enough, and I stand my ground that you if people want to accept me, they accept me as who I am. For example, when I talk to you, it has got nothing to do with your certifications. You are way above all the certifications. Certifications don't define you as to who Coach Les is. How you interact with people, how you communicate, and what your integrity or your character shows up, that is important. There are many, now I don't want to go into research and statistics and say there are many people who have no certifications, who have no degrees and all, and who have made an impact in society.
Well, yeah, because even a blind squirrel will find a nut once in a while. Right? So I completely understand that. I think, though, the scrutiny that we come under is when we're looking to put ourselves in front of a crowd and they are wanting to know who you are. And if you don't have an opportunity to share with them a CV or a resume or something that defines who you are, then it becomes difficult for them to figure out who you are. They have to work too hard to get who you are. And in the world of marketing and branding, you want to make sure that people can figure out who you are quickly. You got 45 seconds. Go ahead, Selena. And then and then Robert.
I kind of would. So I'm not saying I can see both sides, right, of the coin, but I would say I maybe find this a little challenging as well. So I would lean more towards SUJATA because I feel like if you have all of these talents and skills, right? And okay, some may be applicable better in some areas than others, but why do you have to peg yourself into one or try to be defined into one specific arena or box so everybody else can be accountable?
No, Selena,
yeah.
what it is, though, and here's my best example I can give you.
Okay.
I want to go and I would like to get Target as my client. And I show up at the front door, and I'm talking about myself. I have no degree and I have no book. I have 16,500 hours of coaching. I've coached people from dishwashers to CEOs. I've coached people from 8 years old to 85 years old. And when I walk in the door at Target, they won't even look at my proposal. So just to make sure, yes, I was talking opposite what SUJATA was saying a minute ago. Now I'm standing in the same field with her, and I'm sharing with you. She has a degree. She's got a degree. She's going to walk right past me. She has not one book, but 3 books. She's going to walk right past me. The question that I want to ask her and have her start to get serious about is who's she looking to coach and what is she looking to coach? Because when we look at this beautiful book, Against All Odds, it doesn't tell us what she wants to what she wants to coach. It tells us that she has a whole life of experience, a wealth of experiences through everything. Well, cool. So who do you want? I walk into Target with a piece of paper that says, this is what I want to do. I want to level up your entire communication channel in every department in Target. And I have this sheet with 7 steps on it. They won't even let me in the door because I don't have a degree and I don't have a book. And yet I've got thousands of hours, tens of thousands of hours of coaching.
Okay.
So,
like I said, I can see it. I can definitely appreciate both perspectives.
yeah, and I come from both perspectives now, right? I look, my biggest and favorite client that if you go to my website, you'll see it's Tom Maxwell and his wife, Jennifer Maxwell. My best client to date. They were paying me $3,000 a month for 1 hour a week. And they made it to the top 50 businesses in Minnesota. And they attributed it. If you look on my website, you'll see they attributed it to me bringing integrity into their world. Now, when he looked me up, he found me by accident, Selena. He put in business coaching and integrity into Google search. And I was one of the top 5.
Okay.
I mean, you talk about, a stroke of God in that moment. I'm an integrity coach and I coach businesses, and I guess I'm in the top 5 in Minnesota. And he interviewed all 5 of us, and he said, Les, there wasn't even a comparison. Given what I was looking for with integrity, you were left them in the dust. And yet they all had written books. A couple of them had masters. One of them had a PhD. And it wasn't about price for these guys. Price wasn't an issue. So and this is, I'm standing on both sides of the fence here having this conversation with you, Selena, because I don't have an answer. And I'll
I got that.
yeah. And I wish I did. I wish I did have an answer. I think the answer that's there, and I'm really bummed that Robert was having difficulty because he left. One of the things that I know it is that is more powerful than a degree, more powerful than a book, more powerful than my experience is a person to refer you and introduce you to the person making the choices. That's a ticket of gold. Go ahead, Byron.
I agree with that, definitely. I'm gonna run. I'll come back in a little bit. I'm gonna run a little bit.
All right. Well, we'll be wrapping up here, Selena. So we'll see you tonight.
Okay. Awesome.
Take care.
Right, see y'all. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye. Byron, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say access of introduction is key.
Oh,
I'm with you on that. I think that's the flow state of how you gain and transition through some of those things you were talking about with, having your accolades received so that they kind of pre-understand, what you do with your certifications. And then also, with the connections, you can have a certification, but if the first level of access to that person is just a cert and then they meet them and don't do things, for them, there has to be a connection in a coaching environment. Obviously that's a personal kind of concept, but I'm going to add a little bit there, Coach. I'll get a little personal. I mean, I don't have any degrees anywhere. I started working when I was a kid.
Yep.
And I really I understood that the connection point in a person to person And that kind of is what led, one thing being introduced to the next, hey, why don't you come do this? You have great talent here, but you really know how to handle people. Why don't you come do this? Why don't you come do this? And it led me into my engineering careers. I never expected to be in doing what I'm doing. I just expected to be wrenching on cars like my dad for the whole part of my life, But yeah, the human interaction and introduction is the key for me. But I don't like the idea that a lot of people get overshadowed for the inability to have, or that they don't have through competition, the equal opportunity with what somebody's certificates have on them. Because I've been around a lot of people that are certified that don't offer a fraction of things that other people have offered without those certifications. So it's just an environment with where we're at, and access to show what you got or who you are typically starts with that that resume kind of style. If it's not on there and I can't understand what I'm doing, it's like walking into a movie theater, right? If I walk into a movie, I kind of already know what is going to happen. I don't, but I kind of know if it's a drama, if it's a scary movie, if it's a happy movie. So it's just in that kind of mindset, that reverse mindset of setting up your audience to be able to sit there and understand why they're there, what they're doing, and maybe what the idea of the structure offering is, and then allow them to still enjoy or understand, in their own right, what it's all about. So, but thanks, Sue.
Over to you, Sujata.
There is no such thing as right and wrong answer.
Oh, yeah.
It's always about different perspectives, and I like the way that you took both perspectives and stood there. Okay, that is exactly what I say. The intrinsic observation of one's character when they are able to see different perspectives. And I still going to repeat and say, I don't believe in degrees and certifications, and my life is a testimony to it. Today, after having written 3 books and whatever I've accomplished, I'm still being trying to put in a box. Whereas if you read the book, when I first went for my job after 13 years of being a nobody and just a housewife, if the guy thought the way we are talking about, I would never have got my job. I had nothing to show, nothing. Yes, I had the piece of paper, which is a simple bachelor's degree, and some may say that is, you have something over the other. But no, that didn't count. What he found in me was my character, was certain traits, certain attributes, which just made him give me the job when there was no reason to give me a job. And he did tell me very key things, that I can give you the job, but will you be able to deal with the ego of being reporting to a boss who's much younger to you, a male guy? And I said, I have no problems. And that is what made me get my first job. And all my jobs have been got just because of my skills, my perseverance, including when I set up my business. It was worded into the contract from a 5th generation family who were very close in giving franchise agreements. They worded into it that we are giving you this contract based on your personal integrity and character. How many contracts are given in that manner? Tell me that.
I wish that was a true statement in most cases. I think I hold a little bit, on that scale more than just the accolades of commitment through a structured learning to get a piece of paper, for sure.
I mean, I've gotten a job that way before, right? But it is not the norm at all.
Yeah, it's not the norm. I agree.
I mean, I've gotten a job because I knocked on the door, walked into the building, walked into the place, and spoke to the owner, and the owner asked me a few questions, and the next thing you know, he suddenly says, how would you like a job? And I'm like, you don't even know me. He says, Les, I've been doing this for this many years, and how you answered the questions that I just asked you says you're the perfect person for the job. And I ended up working for him part-time for a year.
So that is what I mean by discerning.
Yep.
He was a discerning guy and who saw your true worth beyond resume, certificates, etc.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And like you said, Coach, just having that avenue of introduction. I mean, you offered the introduction of yourself at that point, right?
Yep. I walked through. Yeah, I walked through the door.
Right, but at that same time, that's not the marketplace we live in, the digital world. You can't just walk in nowadays, typically. And hopefully, have audio platforms and podcasting and voices casted across the world. People can see that and hear that if you commit a little bit and understand that approach rather than, the more traditional, kind of filtering through keywords and resumes and biases through, people's pressure to have numbers for hiring. So I hope there's a launch, in that consideration for a lot of companies to change their onboarding and infrastructure and understanding on what it takes to have sustainable, communities within their businesses outside of numbers and keywords.
Well, and I think you've hit on a really solid point there, Byron. I think in today's environment, they're starting to loosen the restrictions about whether or not they hire felons, because to find people to work is becoming so difficult. And there are so many felons out there that have been incarcerated for a year or 2 years because of a drinking offense, DWI, or a BWI, boating while intoxicated, or possession of marijuana, right? So they look and they go, this isn't a hardened criminal, yet he got a felon against him, right? Because of either the amount or the location or the time or, what he was booked under. So I think there's becoming this grace that is being experienced. And at some level, I am all for busting the mold and giving people an opportunity and figuring out, I just went through and had some of my clients do the DISC test, personality profiling. And I'm starting to see, I've been certified to do, I forgot that certification. I'm a certified DISC profiler. So I can, put 3 people through the DISC test and then sit and discuss it with them afterwards as a company or as a person. And I suddenly realized, and I didn't realize this before because I was always in a hurry, the advantage that it is to me to have a client take the DISC assessment before before determining whether or not they'd make a good client. And it's been so invaluable just in the last month. This one gentleman, I gave it to him, he said, yep, I'm interested in checking you out as a coach. And I said, great, go do this DISC test. We'll set up an appointment. He said, oh, I couldn't do it. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it today. We had the appointment anyway. And I said, here's the thing, make sure you get it done by the next appointment. By the next appointment, he still didn't have it done. And I was, I looked and I'm like, this isn't going to be a client for me. And I could tell it before we even started because his lack of integrity gave him no place to stand. inside
I
of,
feel it.
yeah. And I think that's what's starting to happen is more and more people are being tested in a way that maybe 15 years ago, people would have said, you want to interview me with that file for this job doing this? Why?
Coach, I'm a big opponent for that. Over the years, I haven't had a lot of jobs just because I keep them typically. But I think, now that that's becoming more common, I've always been extremely impressed with people that utilize that process, because we know in business, it's always within the people and then the biases and the disruptions within personalities that cause some of the business challenges that aren't directly, capable or processed in a way to handle the personalities, challenges. But on the topic of team building, I think matching people even outside their skill sets, those skill sets can grow much grander when you're around people that match personality types and understanding on all that. And it's something that I couldn't wait to have more involvement and conversations, with the companies that I've worked for and maybe the future ones as well, because the interpretation of personality starts with just people understanding their own, and then seeing how they can overcome their own challenges, maybe within the skill sets needed or whatever, based on how they attract or how they, subtract themselves to the people around them. Boosting each other up comes with a subconscious rewiring, unlearning. So the key there is to really appropriate yourself with knowledge about yourself and others around you. And, even if it's done on a level that's, above you, that isn't really in your present awareness, just knowing that you took something like that or put yourself through that kind of brings an awareness to the process overall, so that you become a little more heightened to those kind of things that you might, misinterpret as, oh, I'm not as good because, like the jealousy thing. Oh, they have a better degree or whatever. They have a corner office, whatever. But the key there is that it just helps the individual elevate subconsciously and consciously at the same time. And that's kind of where it's just incredible to watch people that, start out and get matched or paired with people, and see how things change very dramatically. So I'm huge on that right now, just trying to understand how to add the human element, and conscious relearning and unlearning within the working movement of a business. So, but thanks, Coach, for bringing that up. Obviously, it got me excited here. So
I love it. Thank you, Byron. I think this I think I'm already seeing what we can talk about next week, Sujata. If you want to write it down, just I think if we talk about the hiring process,
Okay.
I think that would be a fun thing to talk about.
Yes, it would.
And with
James.
that, James just stepped onto the stage, and James, we're kind of wrapping up, but I wanted to bring you up, and because I know you have a very successful business, and I'd love to hear your mindset on this,
Jealousy.
on jealousy, but also on this topic of hiring, and one of the ways of looking at, I have a degree and I've written books, or I have no degree, I have no books, and I have what I call on-the-job training, or I have a degree, I have books, and I have on-the-job training, but I seem to be getting overlooked for being hired or for being approached to be hired for something. Looking at that aspect, and of course the jealousy factor that comes from this person walks right in the door, comes in and goes through the same processes and immediately gets the job. How do we manage that jealousy? How do we manage that conversation of, oh, well, look what they have over there, how come I can't have that? So it's kind of a loaded, I kind of gave you a 2-barreled shotgun there, James. Are you?
I'm good. Yeah. Being raised Jehovah's Witness, I always thought I was just a nobody. I mean, really, You don't get to salute the flag, no birthdays, no Christmases. All the other kids are having fun. And I just kind of felt like I was a nobody. So I had a really bad habit of bragging, maybe, what do you call it when you exaggerate? Lying, or just,
stretching the truth. Stretching the truth.
Stretching the truth of who I am, just feeling like I wanted to be somebody. But when it all comes down to it, as I got older, I learned none of that really matters. It really doesn't. We're all the same. We're all broken. The most perfect family in the world has major issues, and I'm not intimidated by anybody in the world, maybe except for Ben Carson. Man, Ben Carson was at my church on Sunday. Oh my gosh. That guy is just one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. So people like that intimidate me because he's just an incredible person and just exudes, confidence, and wish he was our president. But anyway, so as far as jealousy goes, I see people have talents that I wish that they had. I remember when I was young, I wanted to ride a wheelie on my bike so bad and I couldn't do it. And I had, a cousin who was in and out of prison and didn't care about anything and could ride a wheelie forever. I was jealous of him with something like that, but I've never been jealous. I wouldn't trade my position in my life right now with not one single person in this world. God's put me right here. I love it. He has given me an abundance to steward, and has given me my business an abundance to steward. As far as hiring people, I've been self-employed my entire life except for 10 months. I worked at a Chevrolet dealership here in Grapevine, Texas, and there's 36 salespeople. It's the number one Chevrolet dealership in the world. And by the third month, I was a top salesperson, and I was a top salesperson out of 36 for 7 months straight, usually more than double than this number two. And I went up to the owner, and I was trying to get, because I just kept getting passed over, and I'm seeing all these people and getting into finance and everything else like that. And he goes, James, we don't promote our top salespeople. Like, what are you talking about? No, I want to be in management. Oh, James, you'll never be promoted. You're too good. And I'm like, I said, okay, bye, and I quit. I just some people I don't get it. And as far as hiring people, I've hired several hundred people. I almost don't want people with sales experience because they've been trained wrong. In Texas, you have to have a license to cut hair, but not to be a roofing contractor. So the people here the roofers have the reputation of worse than a used car salesperson. So I really want to train people differently to do it the right way. Always put the customer service first. Don't worry about the money. The money will come later. And I've made some big errors in judgment on people that I thought would be extremely successful. All they did was turn around and sue me at the end. And then I've told you the story about my overweight friend who was a transmission repairman who I thought would just be the biggest joke ever, who ended up being, my best salesperson ever because he found his why and became a giant. So, a wonderful person. So, and it just, I think intuition. So what I started doing, not this wife, but my previous wife, when I didn't know if I should train this person or not, I would bring my wife in. And she was really good with her intuition of saying, James, they're not going to work out or they are going to work out. So sometimes, don't go by just your intuition. If you got someone you trust that can really read people, you don't want to waste. All we have is time. So why would you want to go through the trouble of training somebody when you're just going to be wasting your time? So I hope that helped. Thank you so much.
Awesome, James. Thank you so much. And, wonderful words of wisdom. I love it. I think it's a great way to end it. Sujata, anything for you?
Very good perspectives and very diverse perspectives today. Interesting.
And we'll be back next week, Wednesday, 4:00 with the continuation. We'll talk about hiring. It's a great idea. Also, I just want to do a quick shout out. You'll see in the pinned link, we have Ori Spado is going to be in the room tonight. We finished reading the book, and he'll be there. It's at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, and 6:30 Mountain. And I want to thank each and every one of you.
Janet is here.
I see Janet is there. Hi, Janet.
Hey, Coach Les. Hey, Sujata. Hey, Byron, James, and Kingdom. Good to see you all. Yeah, I know you're about to close the room. I heard.
We can still wait to hear you. You have always something to offer.
Oh, thank you, thank you. But I missed all the other good shares.
Oh, you'll
I'll
be
have
able to
watch
hear
it
them
in
on the
I
replay.
have
You
to
love
hear it.
You love listening to replays. You're one of the people that I can actually count on to listen to a replay.
I have to keep up with you. If I don't do the replay, I can't keep up with you, Coach. I have to keep up with Sujata, with Byron, with James, and I have to keep up with all of you.
Well, James convinced me to buy a $29 drone today instead of a $150 drone. So I'm super excited.
I am excited too. That was a great advice. Wow.
Is this your first drone, Coach?
Yes, it is.
And right, then James, bravo for that, because the first one always goes down. So
well, no, I bought my first one and smashed it into a few room walls before. But I actually got it. Here's the thing that's so hilarious, James. I can't wait to hear what you say about this. And then we'll let so let me just tell you, let me give you what to think about, Jeanette. While I then just chat about the drone, I'll give you a minute or two to think. We're talking about jealousy, and the jealousy of things, money, position, power. And then we're also discussing getting into the finding a job or finding a client based on our resume, based on our skills, and how do we represent that, and what does that look like? And we had a differencing of opinion, and I was on one side of the fence, and Sujata was going because she was on the other side of the fence, and then I jumped over to the other side of the fence and gave a huge argument for that side of the fence because I could be on both sides of the fence. And so I'd love to hear your point about degrees and certifications and all that kind of stuff in just a second. But anyway, James, here's the thing with that $160. Well, it was actually a $240, but I got it for $150 with a 40 camera. I finally got it so that I could keep it hovering about 2 feet off the ground. I could move it through the living room. I could move it into the kitchen. I could move it around. And guess what happened, James? I got a red light. And the red light came on, and then the engine died. And, it cut off. And it said, this drone was made to be at 34 feet to 150 feet. You're flying it too low. Now, what's that all about, James?
Yeah, you bought the Holystone HS. It was the, where'd you get the 710?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got an optical flow sensor on the bottom. So it doesn't it tries to regulate, it thinks you're trying to land. So it's not meant to fly. It's definitely not an indoor drone. Not at all. That drone's meant to fly outside. It wants to connect to the GPS. It wants the satellites to control it. It doesn't want to be controlled by humans. So those kind of drones, they fly themselves. You just tell them where to go. But with no GPS signal hooked up to it, they'll drift around.
It had 15. It had 15 satellite collections.
Not inside your house.
Yeah, it did. It was all green. All green.
Oh, that's hard.
I think you nailed it, James. It has an auto landing feature that the algorithm has to quantify before it safely can navigate through GPS. So with it not being able to do that, it's going to say it's unsafe to fly and just stop.
Yeah. You need to fly that outside. And plus, those don't come with prop guards. And if you're new and you're flying that in the house, you're asking for trouble. You're not asking, you're begging for trouble. And if you spent that much, I've got another drone that's a couple hundred. That's way better. It's the cheapest DJI drone, the Mini SC. So, even though Holystone's the one that's made my channel, explode. They make the best beginner drones between $30 and $80. I wouldn't invest in a Holystone drone over $200, even though I don't say that in videos. I do in this chat when people ask me. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it was so I can't wait because I finally figured out how to fly it. Though I was just so frustrated when that because I tried it again and I got it up and I got it hovering and moving around and I got it to turn. I actually was like, yes, I finally figured this bad boy out. And then it quits.
Don't you all wish you had been in the same room when that happened to coach?
A fly on the wall moment, huh?
Yes.
Well, I woke my wife up from a nap with the first flight because it didn't like the fact that it was flying in a 3-walled room and it wanted to find the center because I found out later that it likes to have 4 walls around it. Which I think is part of what you were talking about, Byron, and you, James, with that little sensor underneath it. It wanted to ping off of 4 walls.
Yeah, usually anything with auto navigation, purpose built, it's going to try to have AI control over manual operation. So you probably got a good one though, just to make sure that you can get airtime with it though. Because a lot of the manual operated drones that don't have a lot of AI control stuff they're very cheap and people get frustrated and lose a lot of money. So
anyway, I'm going to hand the mic over to you, Jeanette, to share your share, and then we're going to shut down the room. So the mic is yours, Jeanette.
All right, well, we talked about jealousy yesterday. Was it a continuation of yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I talked about that. There's that link between competition and jealousy. It just the competition. There is an element of jealousy. Well, if you're going to one up me, then I'm going to do better, and it just continues. It just continues to grow. That's the one relationship I see continually. And you want to be the best. If you're going to have a passion about something, you want to be the best in everything that you do, but you have that competitive spirit in you where you're continually trying to one up the other person. If they have they hit a record, you want to break the record. That jealousy is in there, just like a passion, a fire that's in them. And so that's what I see in that. I see the relationship between the two. And everybody has that. Everybody has those tendencies. What else did we follow up? What was the other question about degrees, certifications?
Yes, moving into the job world because because next week we're going to be talking about hiring. So we just we suddenly jumped into this topic, and just would love to hear your opinion about it. And then we're going to promote next week's.
Well, I had a lot of value in my education, and I don't have a lot of certification. Even though I've been an accountant for as many years as I have, I don't have my CPA, but I am eligible to take my CPA exam. I haven't taken my CPA exam because it limits you. Once you do the CPA, you're locked into a specialty. And because I didn't get my CPA, I did project accounting, I did operation accounting, so I got to move around a lot. The other thing that I see now, a lot of my friends that are CEOs, the CPA certification, they go through CPAs because they can take a test, they just can't apply it. I remember one job interview I had because of all my experiences. And I remember the interviewer asking me to explain the whole process from beginning to end. And when I did, she looked at me in shock. And I said, I've never been asked to explain it from beginning to end. Why did you ask me? She said, because people lie. They lie about what they know. They lie about their certifications. They lie about their experience. So it goes hand in hand. I think if you're going to interview and they have certification, that could mean a couple of things. It could mean, that they are knowledgeable, or it could be that they are trying to maintain their skill set and keep on top of current things. That's the certification level. The education, it had value for me. My professors had great backgrounds in the corporate world, government, so I could actually pick their brains. When it came time for me to prepare for my CPA, they told me which books to use, and I had them in my library. Here, you're just going to study these books, and if you can answer the questions, here you're gonna be prepared to take your CPA. So the education was good. It added value in my work experience. I have about 20 years of accounting experience with just a high school degree. I didn't have any education, didn't have any experience. I just excelled in it really well. I grasped the principles, I applied them. And what happened to me in the corporate world was, because I had those 25 years experience, but I didn't have my degree, they wouldn't hire me because I didn't have the degree. Then I go to get my degree, and they wouldn't hire me because I had too much experience before I got the degree. So it's convoluted. And right now, if people are going to be hiring based on degrees or certification, ask if they know how to do the process. That's how I got my job right now, the one that I have. They ask me about processes and what I would do, how I would, how important they are, what the intricacies are. And I went through 3 interview processes to get this job, and it wasn't based on my GPA, it wasn't based on my certification, it wasn't based on my total, any other certifications or continuing ed. It was just that I was able to identify the questions they were asking, why they were asking, explain things, or I was able to explain things. They ask a lot of questions on the interviews. They ask, well, you've only been there 2 years. Well, yeah, I did project accounting. I did operation accounting, and there were projects. You go in, you finish the project, and you move on to the next one. So, of course, I'm only going to have 2 years. I finished it. That was the goal. And when they look at current job applications, nobody has long-term employment anymore. It just, you're not going to see it as much. And they're starting to see that. So if you're interviewing, I think you just have to ask the right questions. Be prepared to see what they know. I was really impressed that they had me explain it from beginning to end. I'd never heard that before. And that's what they did, because they had already gone through 2 people that had the certification qualifications. They just couldn't do the work. And so, I don't want to take too much time, but that's my piece, and we can discuss it more. Just know who you're hiring, ask the right questions. Those canned questions they used to ask before, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Gee, I don't know. I was hired to do a 2-year project, and I did it. And if they keep outsourcing the jobs they hired me to do, or streamline them, where am I? Where do you see me in 5 years is my question. They just have to change the line of questions, look at the knowledge, look at the skill set. Continuing ed, of course, is helpful because it helps you. There's always elements of the job, behavior management, operation management. It continually improves, it continually evolves. It's a great conversation, though. Thank you for asking. This is Jeanette. I'm complete.
Hey, Coach, do you have 1 second for a share?
All right. Yep, go right ahead.
When I was in Florida, I was trying to get a job desperately, and I reached out to a STEM program, independent operator that started, ex-teachers that started curriculum for STEM. And I applied, given my understanding of what I wanted to do and how I did it with my company, Woodworks for Kids, and my technology background. And they asked me the same exact thing, Jeanette. And I just kind of froze. I was like, well, I'm not a teacher officially. I don't have no license. But I just explained how I developed my company and Woodworks for Kids and what my processes were. And, at the end of it, they were like, okay, well, here's the short answer. We can see you don't have a lot of structure and things, but you nailed everything. You know exactly what the process is, how to take care of things, the technology background, all this stuff. And they actually offered me a job. I couldn't take it at the time because it was only a part-time job and it didn't sustain me. But that just reminded me, Jeanette, it made my ears a little warm when you said that, because I was very humbled that I could be accepted into, STEM education with no background in it other than just my passion for what I do and how I do it. So, but thanks, Jeanette. I really appreciated that share. And thanks, Coach, for letting me jump in there.
Well, yeah, if you get asked the questions and it's in education, you know that they're thinking about lifelong learning. They're thinking long-term, and that's a good thing. And so I'm glad they asked you that question. Back to you, Coach.
All right. Actually, Sujata wants to respond to your share.
Yes, I wanted to respond to your share, Janet, and also to Byron. This is exactly what I've been trying to say, that it is about you. It's not always about your resume or your certification. It's about your practical, the proof of the pudding, that you have done something which goes beyond the paper. And also the way you present is about you, your confidence, and how you put yourself out there. That is sometimes overpowering the person, and who's interviewing you, and they say, yes, this is the job you should get, because it's not about the certification, it's not about long-term goals. You have proved that you have this capability and you've done the job. So that is more powerful than the line of applications which have star resumes and certifications. Here is somebody who has done what they claim to have be doing. So that's what I say.
Mm.
There you go. There you go.
So with that, I want to make sure that there is, just a huge thank you to everybody here. I want to make sure that you know that we appreciate you coming to the room. And, this is one of the negatives of having a podcast and wanting and ending it, trying to end it. I'm using that word try at 60 minutes. Because it really creates a difficulty when you bring in sharing and different ideas. And so this is an interesting journey that Sujata and I are on, and creating this podcast. So I appreciate those of you that are listening, that are following, that are listening to this afterwards, and the replays on Clubhouse, those of you that are listening to it on Facebook or LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. Appreciate you sticking with us and hanging through this conversation, and would love to have any feedback on the social media platforms. Please feel free to make some comments. I know that both Sujata and I are eager to learn from your comments and level up this podcast / videocast. And anything else you wanted to share, Sujata, before I put us on?
No.
All right. Well, thank each and every one of you. If you'll notice, I did put, we have the book reading with Ori Spado, who's coming to visit today. We finished his book last week, and he is going to be joining us for the book reading of The Accidental Gangster. It starts at 7:30 Central Standard Time, 8:30 Eastern, 6:30 Mountain, 5:30 Pacific. Come and join us. That will be at least an hour room. It might be an hour and a half maximum. But Ori's going to come and answer some questions. He was on a couple of interviews already today, so I'm sure he'll be like, all right, Coach Les, let's go. Let's get it done. So come prepared with your questions. Rebecca and DJ, just want to do a quick shout out. Hello to both of you. Rebecca, I love your new bio picture. It looks great. DJ, love yours. And thank you both. I know it's morning where you are, DJ, just like it is with Sujata. And thank you both for being here and sharing your time. Please come back when we do our live podcast again next week on Wednesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Mountain, 2 p.m. Pacific. And with that, if you do have any questions or suggestions, please send me a DM. Reach out through the DMs. We'd love to communicate with you. And with that, once again, we are on a mission impossible to make it possible. This room will self-destruct in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
If you have any struggles in your business or your personal life, Les is your guy.
He's logical, he's empathetic, he has passion for helping people, and his ideas are genuinely thoughtful.
So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Hill.